19 North McCarthy. Yeah, I just want to know that this is the best police department that we've ever had. And I appreciate all the guys down there and stuff. And I'm really, really proud of our chief. So that's why I wanted to say it's really, really cool that we got a good police department in this town. And I think that they do a good job.
Thank you, Donna. She says thank you too.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
Go take care of that jaywalking ticket.
Gee, did they get tickets for that? You better be careful.
Actually, when we were in Washington, last summer we went to Washington, DC, there was police standing on the corner watching people cross, and he was, if people came across on a red light or something, or cut across, he would, I don't know if he gave him a ticket, I didn't stay long enough, but he was talking to him definitely.
At some point in Olympia, there was this big campaign going on that the police were, you couldn't jaywalk, they were gonna, because people were walking across Fourth and State, you know, all the time, wherever they wanted to. Well, at least they did get several tickets. I know it stuck in my mind, that didn't
Anybody go to Winterfest? They go by the crosswalks.
Anybody go to Winterfest Saturday?
I did.
No,
Yeah, I did. I did.
It was impressive.
It was.
I heard that it was
I made a
impressive.
mistake taking
We
this.
were in class in AWC all
I
day.
spent some money myself.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
didn't
the
even
whole
get,
setup
I didn't even
really
get, I was getting
Yeah,
some kettle corn by the time I walked in.
They had
She
vendors
two
out in the
actual
school
stuff.
hallways.
Yeah.
We hadn't even gone through it yet.
Yeah, it was a good.
And they were getting customers there too.
Yeah, I know, they got my money.
Okay.
We just had
You got 2 minutes. I was wondering if you're gonna get up there.
No, we just were both commenting how amazing the Christmas decorations are here. I've never been here at Christmas time, and she said, yeah, it really reminds me of when I was a kid. It's quite magical. I just think it's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I leave for work really early in the morning, so there's like nobody, no cars at all coming through this way. It just looks really cool driving through that. Yeah.
It's like Bedford Fall. Well, I got their names, so.
7 o'clock.
Sergeant's here.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Find out what you have in your seat for
It'll be on the post office wall.
What's that? Good. Once I hit that, once I told him that.
It's the same thing as last month.
From around the corner. Well, thank you. Here's a little 13-year-old boy.
Man, that last night it goes slow when you're watching the clock.
John, you can't see the flag. Next time, can we move it over the corner or something so everybody can see it?
But it was hosted by AD.
Okay, I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Tenino City Council, December 10th, 2019 to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is...
Approval of the agenda.
I'd like to amend the agenda to.
Let's get a second first.
Second.
Then we can, now we can add whatever you want.
Okay, don't we want to add the resolution?
Do you want to?
Yes, I want to add the
You
resolution.
don't have to ask a question, you can just say I want to add.
That's what I want to do.
Is there a second to add
There's a
that,
second.
add that resolution to the agenda for approval?
Second.
Okay, been a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll go back to the agenda approval with the addition of the approving the resolution, 2019-10. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda approval of the minutes from November 26th, 2016. 2019, 2016. So I'm way off. I wish it was 2016 sometimes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Already did.
She already did, I second.
Sorry, I was. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar.
Move approval.
Second.
There's one voucher that we're pulling to find out information.
That is
on it.
voucher 028726 for $95. So the consent calendar consisting of November 27th, 2019 through December 10th, 2019, payroll ETFs in the amount of $48,924.45. Claims checks number 28,725 through 28,759 in the amount of $34,959.07. Minus 95, whatever that comes out to be. Sorry, my math is not that good. For a grand total would be $83,788.52 with that $95 withdrawn. No, liquor and cannabis license application renewals, South Thurston Firefighters Association special occasion is on the agenda. Is there any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there are no executive session presentations. We have a presentation from Commander Frank Hicks from the Tenino VFW Post 5878 to present their public service awards to Sergeant Seth Sharp from the Police Department and Jed Newmeyer and Michael Vanderhook from Fire District 12.
Good evening. It's a very honor for us to come before you this evening to do these awards. The VFW, besides these awards, we do youth essays in high school, middle school, and grade school. So that, and tonight we just came from Parkside and did Teacher of the Year awards. So it's one of the many services that the VFW performs. So Sergeant Seth Sharp, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. And once that award, he gets a check for $200. That is it.
Yeah, it is. It's on my backside. Bob Penrod. Bob Penrod.
Firefighter Newmeyer's on vacation, so he's not here to get his award, and it was Michael Vanderhook. Michael Vanderhook was EMT, and Jed Newmeyer is firefighter. So
Got to catch up with their fire commissioners meeting.
yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up on the agenda is public comments. Is there any comments on items on our agenda for this evening? Any comments from the public?
You want to talk about everything?
Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
You want to say something else? You said enough?
If you have questions, I can.
Okay, seeing no public comments, there's no public hearings. Proclamation, January 9th, 2020 is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Recommended action is to move to proclaim January 9th, 2020 Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in the city of Tenino.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and approved. You want me to read it before we make the vote, or first and last line?
Yeah.
National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, whereas the city of Tenino recognizes the extraordinary service and sacrifice of the men and women in law enforcement who keep our community safe, enforce the rule of law, and respond in time of crisis. And now therefore, we, the City Council of Tenino, Washington, do hereby proclaim January 9th, 2020 as Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in the city of Tenino, and encourages the community today and every day to honor all law enforcement officers who put their own lives on the line to protect the lives of others. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'll pass this down. despite my comments, I do truly appreciate the work you do. Old business, I see none. Unless- New business resolutions, new business, none. Resolutions, resolution 2019-09 would establish the consolidated fee schedule for 2020. Recommended action is to move to approve resolution 2019-09 as presented. That was in our packet, and as said, includes a 0.5% increase in our fee for accepting credit cards and an increase from $750 to $1,000 for Academy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on resolution 2019-09?
Not tonight, but there might be in the future.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We added resolution 2019-10. That was in our packet also. This resolution would send to the Board of County Commissioners that Tenino does not support the proposed changes to the comprehensive plan near Maytown. Is there a motion? I'll have to, it's basically, yeah, let me get, I think it's in here. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to scroll through here to try to find it. Sorry. Shoot, dude. I know it's in
I
here.
read it a minute ago.
It's under, in the published agenda, it's under the work session.
Yeah, number 2.
Got it? Okay, I'm gonna read out versions I can. I took it there. So this is a resolution of the City Council of Tenino, Washington, recommending non-support for a change to the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan. Whereas the 745-acre Maytown site, also known as Rocky Prairie, owned by the Port of Tacoma, abuts a Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife Reserve with at least 6 threatened or endangered species. And whereas the surrounding rural area includes historic and popular Nova Cervania State Park with its nearly 500,000 visitors a year, a 1,200-acre undeveloped tree farm, and a wildlife preserve with hunting and hiking. And whereas in the area in question is part of an extensive and valuable wildlife corridor providing needed connectivity for large animals, and whereas the Rocky Prairie Maytown site is ecologically fragile, has valuable rare habitat, several at-risk species, and is on a critical aquifer that is part of the Chehalis Basin and Black River watershed. And whereas multiple aspects of the North Point proposal go against both the letter and spirit of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, the Thurston County Code, and the Growth Management Act. And whereas the county staff determined in 2010, after careful study, that the site has so many critical areas that rural residential, 1 house per 20 acres, was the proper designation for the Maytown site, and industrial development would not be appropriate. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Tenino, Washington, that the City Council hereby respectfully request that the Board of County Commissioners of Thurston County not docket or consider an amendment to the comprehensive plan to allow for a change to rural resource industrial zoning of the Maytown property, adopted by the City Council at a regularly scheduled meeting this 10th day of 2019, it says 2020, December, 20th day of December. It's actually going to be 2019 versus 2020.
The actual resolution says
2019.
2020.
So, that being said, did you make a motion in a second? I forget.
I moved
You
and.
moved? Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. We got some discussion in the work session, and once again, I think it's the right designation for that area out there. It's rural, to keep it rural, and those big warehouses, there's places in Centralia that's got a huge development. There's one in Lacey that there's available space, and I personally think that's the wrong thing to do for that area and for our communities that surround it. Okay, no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
It passes.
See, coach? 4-1.
Okay. Ordinances. Ordinance 906 would amend Tenino Municipal Code 6.60 and 6.61 to comply with the requirements of RCW 35.102.040 Model Ordinance Mandatory Provisions and RCW 104-102-130 Allocation and Apportionment of Income. Having adopted the model code in 2013, Ordinance 906 would only amend those portions of TMC Chapter 6.60 that are now at variance with the model ordinance. Recommended action, move to accept as a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion
Just so everybody knows, this is basic housekeeping.
to keep up with the state laws, right? Okay, any other? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11 is ordinance 907, would amend the 2019 budget by authorizing the clerk treasurer to move funds from the general fund to the corn pool, street, and contingency funds in order to establish the ending balances for 2019 and therefore the beginning balances for 2020. Recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
It's just more housekeeping.
Yeah, basically, we can't have any fund that's in the negative, so if we have something that's like our pool, sometimes it ends up with a little bit negative, but towards the end of the year, we have to move some money from our general fund into the pool fund, and so that's occurring in a couple areas. Any other?
Yes, I'd like to say something. Everyone here, Splash Bash is going to be May 16th, and it's a way to help support that pool.
Exactly. Splash Bass could give us $10,000 last year. It was 9,000 last year.
18,000 altogether. 9,000 and 9,000.
So it's a big donation. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 908 would adopt the city's 2020 municipal budget. Recommended, move to accept.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'm going to make a motion to adjust the budget by only allowing one position for the field training officer and one position for the cross-connection certification until we can review further our budgets and make sure that we can sustain these kind of things without, in the long term. So I'm making an amendment to the budget. Is there? Hearing none, I guess that.
Sorry for lack of second.
Okay, back to the motion. There's a motion to approve the city's 2020 municipal budget. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Me? Yes. No, yes, whatever you say. Okay, reports. Chamber of Commerce,
Next week.
EDC. BCB's not here, Fire District's not here, Library's not here, Museum.
As you guys know, we're closed for the season. When I gave, something I found out very nice today is when I gave the county the money, that actually made a much bigger splash than I thought it was. Every time I go up there, like today, on Tuesdays, I usually go up and just listen in. And people, aren't you with Tenino in the museum? Yeah, we're gonna come out there. There's a class of about 50 homeschoolers that are supposed to be coming out here. I told them how to set it up so we know. It's getting that little gift to the county is getting us some good publicity out the museum.
Thank you. Next is Arch Commission. I'm not sure if that, is that,
That's the creative district.
anything reported on that?
There's nothing to report. We established it, but it's
Hasn't been.
They haven't met yet.
non-operational.
Okay. Civil
That's
Service
what I was
Commission?
saying that what I went to.
Anything for Civil Service, Leslie?
No, we're on vacation.
Me too, after tonight. Planning Commission, there's a meeting tomorrow, I believe, for the Planning
They
Commission.
canceled it today.
I'm sorry, the plan was for the TRPC to present as part of the Growth Management Act 101 that Planner Penrose has been presenting, Sustainable Thurston. So that's the TRPC plan for Sustainable Thurston County. She had a death in the family, so she's not coming. There's no other business to discuss, so they canceled the meeting, and they'll pick the Sustainable Thurston up in the January meeting.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see, we're at Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee. Finance Committee, nothing. Public Safety Committee, I don't believe anything. Police Chief, you have any more report besides what you've given us?
I have something from TCOM that's worth mentioning, but I can wait till you get to that, unless you want me to do it.
Okay, I don't think there's actually a place on here that's TCOM, so.
Oh, okay.
It's separate.
There it is. Section 16.
Oh, I didn't know.
So-
Far enough. Okay, I did. You can say it now since you're up here.
Okay.
We'll do it. We'll
So
skip that.
last night I went to the executive meeting for emergency management, as well as there were some TCOM folks there. Basically, the money was voted through, and they're going to be hiring a project manager to start to do the heavy lift on this. I will say that, again, I would ask for council to consider a resolution requesting TCOM to let me sit at the table. It bothers me that, quite frankly, to go to an operations meeting, which is the actual dispatching and so forth, and I don't have a voice. And
Maybe we should do that
and
next work session.
so, I know that John was working on something with that, so if we could get that accomplished, I'd be, grateful, so we can have a seat at the table.
Can I make a comment on that? I was discussing this with somebody that's been on TCOM, and apparently our operations for the South County is the police chief of Yelm.
That's
They
correct.
said he's never been to a meeting. They have never seen him there. My position would be that instead of creating another position, say we want to participate. If he's
Yeah.
not participating, why don't we take his
Why
position?
can't we take it?
That's how I got on board. There was somebody that was there for a long time and they stopped going. And I got the spot.
Aren't there
3
certain
years, 4
rules
years.
about that? You miss so many meetings.
I guess not, because I was told he's never been there, so it's pretty
No.
loose, I think.
The history to this is when TCOM was formed, apparently whoever the decision makers at the time for each entity, they all got together and decided, okay, this is going to be the board, this is who's going to make the decisions moving forward, and there's not been any change since that's happened. And so what's essentially occurring, frankly, is the sheriff's department, even though TCOM is a separate entity, the sheriff's department is still kind of running the show. And I get along with our law enforcement partners, but I'm just saying for the Tenino Police Department, it would be nice to have a
Get
voice.
our own voice there.
Yeah.
The reason that it's represented by just one person out of South County is because North County, when you add it up, there's 3 there, there's 4 down here.
Right.
They did not want that type of a power structure. That's why there's only one person from all of South Thurston County that represents on that seat.
And
So
for-
my suggestion is to try, I don't know what the process would be, is if he's not interested in participating, we should participate, and we should make sure that all the areas, if you're on that, or whoever's on that board, should be representing the whole South County as it should be. I mean, the thing is, literally, the South County whole South County probably pays less for services and has fewer calls in one city in Olympia. So it's just a balance of, I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, so-
Of authority, but anyway, I suggest we do that, and also, the guy from Yelm that is on the, what's the other board?
Tracy Wood.
Yeah, we have never heard from that guy. I would suggest we talk to them and say, hey, if you're not gonna communicate with the other departments.
He's the
we
one
want
that's
somebody
on
else.
the administrative side of TCOM.
Yeah.
And I've never talked to this guy. I've asked to have a meeting with him, and he's never contacted me.
So we need to work with TCOM, say, hey, this guy is not representing us, we need the opportunity to, either us or somebody that's gonna represent the South County, if they're gonna be on there, they need to represent the South County.
And what I was told is a resolution from council, and then we would, I can even walk it in and introduce it, because they do public comment as well.
Unless they've changed it the way that it has to work for somebody here to get on those seats. And there's actually two that we could take. One is from Tracy Wood, and the other was Chief of Young.
Yes.
Is the mayor needs to do the initial portion, say, hey, we've got a couple of people that want to be on that board.
And I think the mayor has talked to some of the other mayors at their mayor meeting and has voiced his opinion about south, the south end of the county needs more representation there.
See, my recommendation, at least for the administrative end, is not to worry about, if they want to keep sending Tracy out there, that's fine. But that we, at this point in our history, we should have our own seat. Young has gotten to the point where they're large enough where they're not going to worry about anybody else. We need to take care of ourselves.
And that's my impression as well.
Okay?
Sorry.
Whatever the
Thank you.
council's wishes. You wanna put that on the agenda while we're thinking about it for work session?
I would like to.
Before we forget it, before we get to the end? Okay, Director of Public Works, I don't see a report from him. Did I miss it? Is there a written report yet? City planner's not here, city attorney, clerk treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We kind of blew by the building official. Mayor Fournier asked him to create a report for you guys outlining the code enforcement and permit situation in the city. So he did provide a written report that walks you through how many permits have been issued and what's still working, and the code enforcement complaints. Also, another initiative on code enforcement, we're going to initiate a tracking log so that anybody that needs to know can access the log and find out what the status of any open code enforcement action is going to be. For my own report, Mr. Doug Ma, I'm not going to go through the budget stuff. This budget year's taking care of itself. Thank you for approving the budget amendment so that we can get those ending balances right, and we'll manage the 2020 budget as we start out. Mr. Doug Ma needs us to make a decision what date in April we want to have our retreat. The 11th fell off the plate because that's Easter weekend, so that's not going to work for us. And he's suggesting...
The 18th is Earth Day, and I'm tied up working with the Earth Day celebration, the 18th. I can't do it then.
which leaves the 25th.
It's fine.
April 25th?
Correct.
Okay.
That's a Saturday, right? Yeah.
I think
It's a
it's
Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, April 25th it is. Thank you. Just to let you know what's going on our grant fund, we've actually made some fairly good progress. We've submitted the first reimbursement request for the Ag Park Sewer Water Line extension. That's $10,858 that we spent on the engineering aspect of it. That will shore up the Southwest Washington Trust Fund, ending that fund on a positive balance. The Department of Commerce is who administers the direct legislative grants. And when I was coordinating for that reimbursement, the lady that administers those grants also sent me the paperwork for the grant that was requested by the EDC for the first building out there. So what that indicates to me is Commerce is looking at the city to administer that contract, which we have no problem doing, except that we don't want to start it right now because we have no money for the site prep for that building. So that's the fly in that ointment. we have the land, we have the grant for the building, but to get the prep work done for the land, that, we have no funding for that. So, the state would like to move on that. The EDC and the city are happy drawing that out a little bit. The quarry pool reno is working, although slowly. The engineer discovered that the concrete, the existing concrete, is not anchored to the bedrock. And what happens is the water seeps in between the concrete and the bedrock and the bottom of the pool. So it's easy to see why we have leaks. So that was not addressed in the consultant's plan, so we're at a stop work. The engineer has arranged for a company to come out and do the necessary samples to find out where the best places are going to be to anchor that, and then they'll proceed with the rest of the renovation. So there's still a little bit of design work going on. It's going on at a slow pace, but it is going. And then on the quarry house renovation, we got the architectural drawings back from the engineer. They had to make some other recommendations for the structure. When they started looking at the main post and beam that we want to have replaced, it's going to require more work than was originally. So we have to go through a decrement process. You know, we want the structure sound, and then we'll worry about all the goodies. So what are we going to get out of it? We'll get the structure fixed. We'll get the kitchen up to some commercial standard. Probably not a full hood, but it'll be commercial grade appliances and all that kind of stuff. And then for the cosmetic things, we'll have to see how long the money holds out. But all those projects are now coming along. We'll execute them in 2020. I think the pool's going to be the longest one. Yeah. But we're postured well to do that. And the budget you passed tonight has a clear path that ends 2020 on a positive note. But I concur with your plan to do those quarterly adjustments. You know, it's all about prioritizing.
It's a smart thing to do.
I wanted to ask you something about the land part. So where are we going to get the money for the fund to clear and prepare?
That's a $64,000 question. So the EDC has been leading that charge, so to speak. And I can't speak to why, you know, there was that gap. But several funding sources have been discussed. Another direct legislative appropriation. Okay, well, that's down the road. The Community Economic Revitalization Board, or the CERB, has funds that could be used. Who's going to apply for that? Those are the traditional grants where we come up with 30% and they do 60%, well, 33 and they do 66% or 67%. So we would have to get some money in order to do that. We could take a loan out against our water and or sewer capital improvement funds. So that's a loan to ourselves. We'd have to pay ourselves back with interest. We could take a USDA RD loan out. We could issue bonds.
I was thinking about federal money, that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Well, the federal monies available to us right now are the CDBG grants, and we already locked those up. So the CERB really, to me, you know, as your clerk treasurer, is the most attractive option. I don't like borrowing from anybody, but the CERB's willing to. So they have a kind of a two-part process. They have a true grant process where they'll give you grant money to plan the plan, and then the matching type grant to actually execute that plan. So I could see us asking the CERB for a true grant in order to fund the engineer designing the pad and then doing the 60-30 or 60-40 to actually build it. But that would be us. You know, we'd have to make that decision, and we'd have to say, you know, that's that much more investment, and that speaks to the site control, it speaks to the governance, and, you know, you are actually in a better position than I am to speak on the governance piece, but that would definitely impact it.
What about the caboose?
We have requested a $10,000 grant for the Nisqually tribe. We already know we're not gonna get that, they've already told us that. $10,000 request for the county historic grant, and $10,000 from the Port of Olympia. So we planned to ask for $30,000. We actually did ask for 10, we got turned down. The other two we haven't heard back on yet. No reason to suspect we wouldn't get it.
Is
So
there
that's-
any, do railroads have any foundations that you can apply the grants?
Mayor Forney has been working that there. When word got out that we bought a caboose, there was an initial onrush of folks that were willing to help. But we weren't in a position to take them on because we couldn't do anything with them. In addition to those two $10,000 grants, we're gonna take 5,000 of our municipal capital improvements, so 25 grand. Whatever 25 grand buys us, that's what we intend to do to it this year.
Well, and you know that the Lions Club is they've already volunteered,
Oh.
some of the guys to do a lot of the work.
There's a lot of help out there, there really is.
There is a society or something that does this, because I've talked to one of
Right
them.
in Burlington Northern, that's how we got the single arm fixed. It takes them a long time to come up with and say yes, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Well, it's right up there with Bailey.
Yeah.
You would think, but
Okay, any other questions? Mayor's report, I didn't see anything when I scrolled through, but, next time. Okay, Pecota, Tenino, be that.
There's no report.
Okay, SIP is, we don't have a meeting this month, so in January there will be a report. Solid Waste Advisory Board is coming up here. TCOM 911 we talked about, Tenino School Board,
Nothing new.
nothing new. TRPC, we did have a meeting the other day. As soon as I get the summary, I will forward it to you, but kind of like here, it's kind of a lot of housekeeping stuff before the end of the year. It's getting the director's evaluation done and stuff like that. There was a presentation that was done here about the Tenino, the trail extension down to Dakota or west. They did that to the whole board. There wasn't a lot of questions about it, but they did the same presentation they gave here, so. And that's on their list of projects, I think, for consideration next year to be funded, so.
yeah, only 3 years after we started.
Yeah. We need a couple more studies
Hey,
before we get
I'll tell you what, that's pretty quick, actually.
Study, anything for study?
Friday,
Okay,
next Friday,
Next Friday, the 20th.
TPB,
tomorrow morning.
public comments two. Is anybody who would like to make any comments? Seeing none, meeting's adjourned. Happy New Year to everybody.
Has there been any official action taken on, whether there'll be a second December meeting? Or is
No,
that,
there's no
is it
additional
taken
meetings
as
in
read
December.
that there will be none?
No more meetings this month, yep. I
Okay.
think we took that action a while back.
Well,
I know,
in the past, they've taken like
different things, you know.
a resolution or an ordinance to officially set it aside.
John.
I just wanted to, doing my due diligence.
Same vouchers,
Yeah, I think we kind of said if
So
there's
officially, there is none,
business,
they can come in and take care of vouchers and things on their own.
probably end up getting signed any checks that need to be signed. but we just-
All right, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Okay.
Didn't want to assume anything. You know what happens when you assume?
Yep, I've done that a couple times.
Doing better than what?
Got a chief left already. I was gonna ask him why he sent
You guys have a Merry Christmas.
releases on the Hens robbery to everybody except me.
I'll see you again till the first.
I gotta get checked out, you don't wanna miss that, yeah. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
You too, Frank. You betcha. It took me about 3 days, maybe.
That's fast. So you're ready to go?
Bye-bye. Welcome.
As always, a pleasure to see you.
Don't try to be us a BS in here.
Mr. Mayor, you like that idea?
See?
I don't like it.
I say it all the time.
I do. Well, run against me next time.
You all enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
I love your flowers.
Thank you.
I thought it was cheap, but it's all right, I thought it was a great idea.
Couldn't afford them, so.
Okay.
I saw a very, it was a fresh bouquet,
No, it's okay. You are?
so people that were deserving.
I thought it was fun.
Same to you.
I gotta get her, I gotta
See
get
you
her
next
together.
year.
Okay. Yeah.
What's up, Dan?
Oh, not a heck of a lot. It's gonna be a tough end of the year for me, because
It'll get better.